Well, we are just finishing up a pastor's conference down in Wimauma, Florida. And I open up Gaia GPS to navigate, and I happen to notice that I have a little nub of a trail just a little south of here. I'd marked something on a trail as a place to see. So join us this afternoon on Friday as we head on Highway 301 just south to go see a railroad museum in one of Florida's ghost towns. We Jeep, we eat, and we are at Bubba Q's near Wimauma, having lunch before we go out on the trail.
Yes.
We're up at the railroad maintenance yard. For information on this, the Florida Railroad Museum is down in Parrish, Florida. It's down the tracks. This is basically the maintenance facility. And when you are there, you can not only ride on trains, but you can rent a locomotive. Now, before you get all crazy about that, basically there's two options. One of the options is that you can ride shotgun, and the other option is they're going to let you work the levers. Supervised, of course. And that is at the Florida Railroad Museum in Parrish. And it's about, how many miles down that track?
6.5.
6 miles. But this gentleman has been gracious enough to bring us into the cab of this Florida Gulf Coast locomotive. Let's take a look.
All right.
And these locomotives are bigger than they look. This is where you would be able to sit if you were riding shotgun. But if you were driving, you'd be able to sit here. And you got throttles and brake controls, and you got air horns, so you can pull these chains, that would blow the horns. And if you've ever walked down railroad tracks, you're familiar with these little W signs. That's a whistle. Ask me how I know that. I grew up getting a train set every year for Christmas.
This one is a GP7 that belonged to the Army that we got from the Army. They donated it to us in, I think, 93.
Wow.
It was built in 51.
Wow, 1951.
Yes.
Awesomely cool.
Everything is very old here.
And the view? You got a limited view.
The view out of most locomotives is terrible. You really rely on your ground crew.
Yep. Diesel, correct?
Oh, yes.
And you talk about torque. You want torque in your Jeep. This has got enough torque to carry thousands and thousands of pounds of cargo.
Thousands of tons.
Oh, that is awesome.
All diesel engines are actually diesel electric hybrids. They have to be. There's electric traction motors down below.
Even from 19...
They don't work otherwise. That's the reason they are.
Yeah.
You have no choice. They all have to be from day one. This is the dynamo on the end. Note the danger, 600 volts.
Wow.
So when it's running, you should stay out of this compartment. But that's what that is.
And then
This is the engine. It's a V16 diesel. This is an old one. It's got 8.5-inch cylinders in it.
Wow. And that's the valve cover. Check that out.
Yes, that's the valve cover.
You can just open the valve cover, and that
there's
is your rocker
camshaft,
arms and
your rocker arms.
camshafts.
And each one of these plates has a cylinder under it, behind it.
So you can actually access the cylinders too.
Yes.
And this is 16 cylinders.
Yes, 8 on each side.
And just to give you a little perspective of what the size is, I'm 6'3", and this motor is almost as tall as me. It probably is. These are big motors, and no, you can't put that in your Jeep.
We usually put the oil in with a 55-gallon drum.
And that motor goes back.
Oh yeah,
Quite
this
away.
is only half of it.
This is just the half.
This is 4 of the 8 cylinders on this side.
Wow.
And when you put oil in, you just dump it in. Right
Just
Yeah.
pour it in?
Usually we add around 20 gallons at a time.
Wow.
Sometimes more, but not usually less.
That's awesome.
So when it runs, it's pretty cool because you can open this with it running.
Wow.
Oil splatters a bit, but you can. You can watch it run. You can watch the cylinders, watch the valves. go
Valves
up and
lifting.
down. Yep.
That is cool. Next to Jeeps, next to Jesus, I love trains. What y'all may not know is that my dad worked for B&O.
Yeah, that's a big part of me too.
Okay.
They got a lot of passenger rail stock from the rail companies when they were formed, and this is one of the cars they inherited. They haven't had it in a very long time.
We actually want to take our grandkids on that when you guys do that. This is wonderful.
Now this train runs on the weekends normally, and tomorrow and Sunday will be no exception. This is the train that's running tomorrow.
Wow.
But next weekend and the following weekend, we have a special event, Thomas the Tank Engine. So you can't ride the regular train.
A celebrity event.
Yes. Yes, Thomas will be here, and Sir Topham Hatt, and my 3-year-old will be so excited. The type of open-topped,
Yeah.
like you put railroad ties in when you're transporting them, and we converted it into an open-air outdoor seating car.
Which is great, yeah.
So all the woodwork is our addition. If you look over the side, you can see the steel of the body of the car.
A Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey.
Yeah.
That's cool.
They were very good to us.
Yes.
Extremely generous.
And if you follow these railroad tracks, once you get to the county line over there, you can make your way to an old trestle bridge, about a 1/4 mile high.
It's cool to see these. I actually used to have a store in one of these when Ringling Brothers had their, I guess you would call it, theme park here in Central Florida.
It was probably a switcher engine, or intended to be originally, and a yard switcher. That's why it sits so high, and it doesn't have forward or aft trucks. It's an 060 design,
Okay.
which would be great for in the yard, but it wouldn't be so great out running on the.
So they added the tender in the back?
Yeah. Yeah, well, normally it wouldn't sit this high. The boiler would sit at least a couple feet further down. But by putting it that high, they get a better view in the yard. They can see what they're doing.
Switch yard puller. There's a new railroad depot now down by Willow, built by the Florida Railroad Museum. The Florida Railroad Museum offers rides on the train, and that's about 6.5 miles down the tracks in Parrish, Florida. Look at the link below for the Florida Railroad Museum. If you're into trains, you'll love it. Well, that was Dave. He just took us for a tour of the facilities. Trail, so watch out for roots. There's a railroad bridge on the north end of the tracks, but it does need a significant amount of repair before it could ever be used again. Some of the rails have even been taken out at the south end to keep trains from going through. Well, we made it out here to the trestle bridge. Now, go take a look. See what all's down at the end of this road. Looks like somebody found some mud holes down here. Little Manatee River. The town of Willow. It's a small town south of Wimauma. It's about 6 miles north on the tracks from Parrish, Florida. It was leased by a logging company from Alabama, and they leased approximately 54,000 acres of land that they were going to be using for logging. This area is believed to have included things such as a sawmill, planer mill, a dry kiln, a family home, general store, which they called a commissary, and they had 75 to 80 worker houses, and each one of those had garden plots. Originally, there was Snowden's filling station on the tracks, a post office that was constructed in 1889, and a railroad depot with a water tower. There was also a church, a school, and what they called a juke joint. At its height, this sawmill could produce approximately 50,000 board feet a day that was cut. There was around 250 workers. They were paid in scrips. Those are small round tokens that were spent at the commissary. The town failed with the onset of the Great Depression. As the price of lumber dropped, the business moved over toward Tampa in 1937. That way goes back.
You see your tracks? Yes. Oh, I hope your back tire doesn't hit it.
I'm gonna go back out the way I came. Say that again?
The narrow is the way that leads to life.
Amen. All right. This is all like Tanglewood all back here. Trails going every which way. Don't look at that like that. That makes it worse.
See how it's worse.
Because it wobbles that way. When you were just doing it, it wiggles back and forth. This is old school four-wheeling. We're in 4 low. We started off wondering whether we were even going to be going into 4-wheel drive. Cool little trail, but definitely made for little four-wheelers, not big four-wheelers. So you're about to see, got some great dirt bike trails coming through here. Video, then you'll know that we were out by a ghost town in Florida called Willow in the Little Manatee River for some railroad crossing trestles from the logging days. Hopefully you enjoyed the ride. It's pretty easy to find. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below. You've just been on a Florida Jeep ride. We'll see you next week as we head out to another trail. Off-road travels. We got a new design in the store, so check it out.